Hello everyone, and welcome to my first ever fantasy talk. Today I'm going to be discussing Brandon Sanderson, the man, the myth, and the legend himself. And is he already the GOAT? I don't think so, not yet. So I've got 3 weaknesses of his, the top 3 that I think that he needs to improve on to reach the greatest of all time status. And remember, this is all coming as a huge fan of his work, and I've read everything except for the last book of Mistborn 2, which I'm starting next. So I love the man's work. I really appreciate him as an author. These are just some things that I think he needs to improve on, or things that get on my nerves as I'm reading, and you can let me know if you feel the same. So number 1 is his prose. If you started Elantris and go all the way down to Stormlight, you definitely see an improvement. But it's still, I would say, average at best. And really with his prose, it's not his sentences as a whole, or the whole, it's not his writing style really that bugs me. I mean, it's really readable. He gets his point across, it's very clear. It's written well, but he has some word choices that just completely take me out of the immersion, especially if it's in a serious scene is when they really crop up. Or if it's a romantic scene, it just really, I don't know why he does it. It's kind of like he takes a thesaurus and then just has a word and that would work, and then he's like, no, let me just throw this in there, and I just don't understand why. And he also has this thing with adjectives that he'll use way too many adjectives instead of just saying the noun. Like, let's say the restaurant, he'll say the slimy restaurant or something, and that's not a direct quote, but you're just like, I don't know why. This is going to sound crazy, but it reminds me of Donald Trump a little bit, like, Sleepy Joe Biden and stuff like that, which, whatever, but I'm just saying the weird adjectives, I just don't get it. So I actually got a quote from Warbreaker that I wanted to read here. This is from Vivenna. She's in a scene where she's really describing why she hates Halandrin and Titalier, or Titalier, I don't know. But so this is what she says. I'm going to read the first half, and then we'll go from there. So she says, I hate this entire city with its colors and its gods. I hate the fact that it stole away my life, then demanded that I leave behind all that I love. Stop. Perfect. Fine. Done. Move forward. That's all we had to do here, and I would have been fine. Okay? So we're going to go on, and we're going to finish the rest of the quote, and this is what takes me out of it. Then she says, I hate the busy streets, the placating gardens, the commerce, and the suffocating weather. And that's it. And you just lost me. And so this is a really intense moment for her. She's just really venting out her frustrations. And the 4 things that she picks are the busy streets, which, okay, fine. The placating gardens. You hate the calm, lovely gardens. Nobody would ever even say that word, placating. And number 2, who hates the nice gardens? I don't get it. And then the commerce. She hates the commerce. And the suffocating weather, which again, fine. Weird example choices from Brandon there. I'm from Alabama, as you can probably tell from my accent. It'd be like if I said, hey, I hate the weather. It's terrible. I hate the humidity. I hate the football players. And I hate fried chicken. And you're just like, what? So, anyways, so that's just kind of the thing, and that's cherry picking one comment or one quote, but this happens all the time. And if you've read all of his novels, you probably know what I'm talking about. Just strange things to say that nobody would ever say in real life, especially in the romantic stuff too, where it's just so cringy. I mean, it's just so bad. And I do think he's gotten better, but still, they crop up in there sometimes, and I think he's just writing away, he's clicking away, he's doing his 3 books a year or whatever the heck he does, and he just doesn't have time to go back and just fix everything. Or maybe he's like, hey, I've been using this one word way too much, and just goes to the synonym thing and just picks something. He's like, yeah, that'll work. And then his editor is just like, I'm getting so much, it's fine, So the second one is actually, like I said earlier, the romance, and the prose is part of that. Some word choices that make you cringe, but it's mainly the now kiss type romance thing that really bugs me. And I'm not a big romance person. It's not something I could take it or leave it in my fantasy books. It's not what I'm here for. But if you're gonna do it, just do it well, or do it good enough. And he just does it usually really badly. And then Warbreaker is actually the best, to me, relationship between a romantic relationship in the Cosmere so far that I've read, but it's still not good. And the reason why it's not good is because the actual circumstances of how they got put together, it makes it weird. It's almost like some Stockholm syndrome type stuff. But they actually have conversations. They actually, they actually flirt and, hang out a lot over some months. And there's things that they actually talk about when they're professing why they like each other or love each other or whatever that, they make sense. You've seen it. It's been developed over time. And it's still not good, but it's the best. Okay, and then you've got Stormlight and Miss Warnera 2 both suffer from the same thing, which is this weird love triangle. I don't even know why they're there. I still don't know how I feel about it. It's just, I don't know. I don't know. Alright, and lastly is going to be probably the most controversial one is his characters. So he's known as a character-driven writer. He focuses on magic systems, world building, plot, and character. The characters are well-created, well-crafted characters. They make sense. They usually follow the motivations that he's, outlined for them, and they usually grow over time, and they change, and they're very dynamic, and a lot of them are quirky and fun. They've got good personalities usually. My problem doesn't come in with how they're depicted or how they grow and all that kind of thing. It's actually the process in the story, how it's told, that they actually come by this growth. And so it's a lot of wishy-washy, back and forward kind of growth where these books are really large, and I think that they're a little bloated because if you've read them, you know what I'm talking about. You're in their viewpoint, and they'll say, I hate this. No, I love this. No, I don't know. Who am I? Who am I? I'm this person. No, I'm that person. I don't know. And then you'll resolve it in that viewpoint. And then the next time you're in their viewpoint, you have the whole same thing again. And you're like, we just did this, And it's not through, Joe Abercrombie in the First Law trilogy will have like a conversation between these two people who are very different, and it changes one or both of them. And then maybe you have a little bit of internal, thought process, very short, and then you're done. And from that point on, that's done pretty much. I mean, you may have more growth along that same, thought process and line, but that part is done. Whereas here, you'll do something and it'll completely be like it never happened, and you have to do it all over again. I mean, this just happened in Warbreaker with one character like over and over and over again, all the way through the entire story, actually, from beginning to end. And even in Stormlight, same thing. I mean, it happens with Kaladin, it happens with Shallan. I still don't know who Shallan is. She just goes back and forward constantly. And really Dalinar is probably the only one where you are like, okay, this went somewhere, and I felt like at each stage, when we were done, So I think that's something that he really needs to work on, tightening up a little bit, and I can kind of see the influences in a lot of his writing. So when you talk about the romances, and you talk about, there's the Sanderlanche and all that kind of stuff, you can really see Robert Jordan start to shine through. And then with the internal viewpoint, wishy-washiness, and just over-explanation type thing, I can almost see some Orson Scott Card there. I know he's a big fan of, he mentions Ender's Game a lot, Brandon Sanderson does. And you can kind of see that where it's almost like, hey, I'm not dumb. Like, you don't have to explain all this stuff out this much, because it kind of ruins the character development for me. If you just kind of let it happen, let the event or the conversation that changes them happen, and then have them reflect on it for a moment or two, and then just kind of move on and be done, and then I can fill in the gaps. And so I think he can just kind of trust his audience to be smart enough to get it a little sooner, and then we don't have to keep repeating over and over again. Anyways, I know this sounded very negative. I'm going to actually do a strengths video too, because like I said, he's one of my favorite authors. But these issues that I have with his writing, I mean, they're there. I'm not going to not criticize them when I think that they are things that he needs to improve. And like I said, if you start at the very beginning of his first published work and you go all the way down to the end, you're going to see that a lot of this stuff's gotten better. But it, like I said, it's still not, he hasn't turned these weaknesses into strengths. He's just kind of mitigated those weaknesses pretty well, but he could still go a lot further. And so, yeah, I don't think he's the GOAT right now. And I don't even know who the GOAT is. I don't know. But for me, it's not Sanderson right now if I had to pick. So anyways, going forward, I'm going to make a strengths video for Sanderson, and then I'm also going to review all of his Cosmere one at a time, maybe not all in a row, but just kind of wanted to get the lens by, how I judge these books, what I think that his weaknesses are as an author, and so it makes more sense, what I may be critical of, and things like that. So that's all for today. Thank you for watching, and please like this video and subscribe for new content coming soon. Thanks, and y'all have a good one.